Yeah, just the inside packages from the inside, or
photos inside.
yeah, the inside.
Packages are inside. Not that much.
All rise.
All right, thank you. Be seated. I'm just going to remind you, tech talks, you're still under arrest.
Detective Cox, I believe before the break we had finished up with items of evidence that you collected from outside Papadon. Is that correct?
That's correct. Items 1 through 8.
And one item, the firearm that was found in the dumpster, you made indications that it was without the magazine at the time. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And during your search and obtaining of evidence, was the magazine ever located?
Not to my knowledge.
And you underwent the same or similar process for the inside of Papadon's pub?
That's correct.
Now I'm going to hand you what's been marked for identification purposes, the State's Exhibit 38A, all the way through 38LL. I have you look at the entire stack and then have some additional questions. Then in regards to State's Exhibit 38A all the way through 38LL, can you generally describe for the jury what these exhibits consist of?
These are photos of the scene with placards of the scene that night.
And then I'm going to put them on one by one onto the document can and have you describe what we're looking at. And if you need to
Will we refer to the chart?
What's that?
You want me to refer to the chart?
You can refer to the chart as well with regard to the items, as to the location of the items. I don't know where the pointer was.
think he did, so.
There you go. Yeah, feel free to use that. All right, and at this time, I'm going to put State Exhibit 38A up on the screen. Detective, would you please tell us what we're looking at?
Okay, what we're looking at here is 9 and 10. So, if we're looking outdoors, so 9 and 10 here, we would be roughly in here looking directly east from there. 9 being a shell casing, a 40 caliber shell casing on the floor, just inside the door there. And 10, there's a little jog into the wall, there's a little table. There's blood on the floor at 10, and also a set of car keys underneath that little table.
B then is a closer shot of Akron 9.
That's correct.
Shell casing.
That would be the shell casing right here, just inside that door.
Am I correctly pointing the shell casing on the screen? Lower left-hand corner of this picture.
And that view would be looking forward into the doorway. So you're actually looking west.
And then State Exhibit 38C.
Again, another picture of the shell casing.
And this would be the fourth shell casing overall, but the first one that was located inside the front door.
That's correct.
State Exhibit 38D.
Okay, that's placard 10, and that's right here, and then you see the corner of the diagram. There's the table, you see the chair right there, and you also look up halfway, midway on the left side of the chair, you see the set of car keys. As well as the blood. I'm sorry. As well as the blood on 10, your placard on the floor.
And when we're done with the photographs, we'll get to the others that you collected. But then did you collect actually two different items?
That's correct.
Placard 10?
That's correct.
You collected the keys as well as taking a swab.
The swab of the blood, that's correct.
State Exhibit 38E.
Okay, again, behind the chair leg in the center of the photo, you see placard 10. So we're looking right here, looking eastward. And the placard is obscured a little bit. You can see the keys a little bit. And again, you can see the blood in the floor.
In regards to the item that appears to be on the table, notice the bottom portion of the item, which we call it that one.
That was a inflatable Cleveland Browns football player.
.38F.
Okay, again, picture the same area, 10. You can see 9 in the background. Again, we're looking at that. We're in the restaurant looking eastward.
38G.
Okay, here we are standing approximately right. You can see the edge of the bar on the right-hand middle of the photo. So that puts us here, and we're looking back towards the door again. We're looking eastward again.
Towards the front door.
Towards the front door. That's correct.
See two placards. This appears to be placard 10. And which placard would that be? That'd be number 11.
That's 11, which is right here. There's a row of tables opposite that set of keys, and 11 is right there. And that would be blood that was collected.
Showing you that 38H. That's a close-up of placard 11.
That's correct. You see an overturned stool, and you see number 11, and that runner or that rug, would, if you follow that up towards the top of the photo, you'd be going towards the end.
I believe you testified that a swab of blood was taken from that location.
That's correct. That's swab was taken.
State Exhibit 38I.
Okay, 12, you see the placard, that would be right here on this table. If you would come towards me, cones right here. That would be the one closer to the wall, I believe. Be cone 3, which is a sample of blood we collected.
And would this be the corner of a jukebox that you know?
I believe so. Like the trash can.
.38J.
Do you have the microphone there behind you? Can we?
You know, I didn't see
I
it.
moved the microphone.
Thank you. Okay, again, that's number 12, which would have been, like I said, adjacent to the bar. If you would go directly across from where you run into the bar.
You took a sample of blood from that location?
That's correct. That was a sample of blood.
State's Exhibit 38K.
Okay, now we're at the, if you look to the left, I think you might be able to see 10, or at least the inflatable that was on the table, but we're actually in this position here, looking southbound down the bar, and placard 13 is right here in the diagram.
You're able to see the additional placard.
Right, you can see 14, I believe 15, all the way to 16, and I think maybe 17 in the very far background.
State's Exhibit 38L.
Again, the same area, but you stepped in a little bit, and again, you can see like 13, 14, 15, 16, and I don't know if you catch 17 there in the far distance, which would be the far top right of the photo.
You can see a portion of the bar top in this.
That's correct. You can see part of the bar top here.
State's Exhibit 38M. Appears to be a little bit closer up.
That's correct. Slightly different angle, slightly more in the aisle, so to speak. And again, looking southbound.
.38N.
Okay, that's a close-up of the blood near placard 13.
Swab was collected from that.
And the swab sample was collected from that area.
38O.
Okay, 14 is this area right here. Again, sample of blood collected from that area.
38P.
Okay, 15, which would be right here in relationship to the bar. It's the blood and I believe a piece of drywall that was collected from that area.
.38Q.
Okay, that shows we're towards the end of the bar over here. And we see 16, 17, 18, and I believe 19 on the left.
Sample of blood, excuse me, a swab of blood was collected from.
That's correct. At 17, there was blood. 16, 18 was actually a bullet. A fired bullet was recovered there.
38 hours of close-up of placard 17.
17, a little closer view. Closer view 18.
And then 38S.
Okay, that's 19 in the area. 18, I'm sorry. That's this area right here. Restrooms are here, and if you go through, if you make a right at restrooms, make a left from this area, you go back into a kitchen area.
And you indicated that placard 18, a bullet was collected.
That's correct.
Can you see the bullet in this photograph?
I can get a little closer. Right here, you see a little projectile next to placard 18. That's correct. See the striations of the barrel marks on the jacket. And that's right here, again, towards the restrooms, actually past south of the bar, the physical bar.
38 view.
Okay, that's 19, which would be the entrance to the kitchen from the hallway or the bar end. So that would be south of the bar, and there's a large deposit of blood, which would be smeared, and there's also a big sheet there, corner.
38B.
Okay, we use we have a small subset of characters A, B, C, D. We use those placards, so we can't put the larger placards for numbers, either for balance or obstruction of what we're trying to see. A is actually blood on the second table, around the corner here, for the second round table, third table actually. We came in with the entrance and made the immediate left. There's blood on the edge of that table.
The fact that you use letters don't have no other significance other than for
No, I mean,
efficiency.
you can't attach the large placards and numbers to the wall.
38W appears to be a close-up of the placard at the table.
That's correct. There's a close-up of this second round table, and what appears to be blood on the ridge. Okay, B.
38X.
Placard B is on the wall right here between the four tables, just past the A, and it's blood stain on the wall.
38Y.
Okay, again, that's a medium range shot of 18, which takes us over here. We're past the bar, we're almost parallel to the last round table.
And I believe 38Z is a close-up of placard C.
That's correct. On the wall right here, near 18, and that would be a common wall to the restroom there. There appears to be more blood stain on the wall.
38 double heading.
Okay, again, now we're at 19, which is that long wall that divides the two kitchen areas, right off the hallway, past the bar, just south of the bar. We have 19, which is blood, and in D, there's a blood stain or drip on the wall of apparent blood.
38 double B.
Okay, that takes us over here, which is more blood on the floor, and it's a pylon number 2.
Pylon number 2, signifying the area of the blood.
That's correct.
You've already used the pylon number 1.
Right, we use pylon 1 over here, we use pylon 2, and pylon 3.
One was the glasses outside, is that correct?
That's correct, pylon 1 was the glasses discovered outside.
And this again is near the patio door.
That's correct, when we enter this area here, it's onto the patio.
Close up of 38 double C.
Okay, if you look closely, you can see the discoloration of blood. It appears to be transfer blood, which is something that's not just dropped like droplets. It's like something that's been stepped on and then transferred onto the surface.
And then 38 double D.
Okay, that's just a short distance from 2 that we just looked at. And again, we see what appears to be blood marked there on. If you look at the cone, it's on the right hand corner of the cone towards the top.
I detected that the rest of the photos, I think, we're moving away from the placards and just getting different views of the inside of the bar. Here's 38 double D.
So we're looking at the bar from the square tables. So we're in this area, looking at the bar.
38 double F.
Okay, you're actually looking at the bar from over here, from this perspective.
So the tables that we're looking at right here, the tables, if you walk in, would be to the right side.
If you walked in, it would be to your right. That's
You're
correct.
actually on the other side of those tables.
Yes.
And were you able to see the bar from there?
Yes. Here, you can see the top of the bar right here.
That's 38 double F. Double G.
Okay, we are over here, and we're looking towards, that would be the north end of the bar, over into that corner.
38 double H.
Maybe closer to that one.
Appears to be the front door. You can see the round.
Okay. That perspective would be roughly right here in this area, and we're looking eastbound.
38 double I.
Okay, we're looking actually at the entrance, and we're standing along this wall here, and we're looking across.
38 double J.
And again, we're in roughly the same area over in here, and we're looking up towards the bar, across the tables here, in this direction.
38 double K.
And that appears to be behind the bar.
And 38 double L. Also behind the bar.
That's correct. Also behind the bar, and you actually see in the right-hand upper, this little jog in the bar, this little L right here, and taken from behind the bar, looking southbound.
Detective, the exhibits I just showed you, States Exhibit 38A all the way through States Exhibit 38 double L, and a true and accurate depiction of the inside of Pop Down's pump back on November 16th of 2013.
Yes, they are.
You can have a seat, and we'll go over the items that were collected from within the bar. And you now with the mark for identification purposes as States Exhibit 49. Ask you if you're able to identify that exhibit.
That's correct. That's a shell casing, and it was collected on placard 9. This is the shell casing collected just inside the door.
And that's in substantially the same condition as when you last collected it.
Yes, it is.
States Exhibit 50.
It's on number 10, that table where we've seen the blood with placard 10. It's a set of keys. We have at least 2 car keys and what looks like house keys on the other end there. At least 3, 4 of those.
Does that appear to be in substantially the same condition as when you collected it?
Yes, it does.
States Exhibit 59.
This is placard 18. And this is the fired bullet or the slug. That's on the floor. Okay, that slug has appeared in there. You can see the striations or the rifling marks still on the slug, relatively intact.
And that would be the one fire bullet that you located at the scene?
That's correct. That was by placard 18 on the floor at the south end of the barn.
Now, Detective, having performed this job for 21 years, have you, in investigating and trying to process scenes involving firearm shootings and multiple bullets being fired, have you found challenges in locating fired bullets?
All the time.
Can you kind of tell us the difficulties that the crime scene unit faces in locating and retrieving these fired bullets?
Okay, when the bullet's fired, it leaves the barrel anywhere from 1,000 feet per second, depending on the load, and go up to 15, 16. It's typical. I mean, you can load your own and make them go faster by adding more powder or subtracting. When these things hit something, they don't normally stop. They ricochet, they change path. If they go through an object like glass, they change direction. If they hit an object that it can't penetrate, they'll bounce. Sometimes they'll split apart and shatter into multiple pieces. Sometimes they enter the structure. Like a lot of times in the house, if it's in a house and it goes into the wood through the plaster, short of taking apart the structure, sawing off support beams, et cetera, and then you might not even find it in that beam. You might find out after you take a supporting beam out that it passed on through. Like I said, they're going at high speed, they shatter, they change direction, they bounce, they land in people's clothes. They don't realize when these jackets come out, they're jagged, and they'll stick to clothes. I mean, you have to work to get them out with tweezers sometimes. There's people that have slugs in their clothes and don't realize it. They walk off, they fall out. Objects can be kicked when there's panic, kicked under things, kicked around things, and you're very lucky if you recover everything.
And is it unusual, based upon your past experience, that you've had cases where you knew shots were fired, homicide cases where bullets were not recovered?
Yes, all the time.
And in this case, did you learn that later, after that evening, additional bullets were recovered at the scene?
Yes.
But that was not by you, correct?
That's correct.
State's Exhibit 66.
Okay, this was a piece of drywall that we found and located in placard 15, which was basically the front of the bar on the floor there.
And once again, you didn't know if it had any significance, but seeing it on the floor, you collected it at that time?
That's correct. It appeared to have some, to be the result of a bullet striking something.
The last two exhibits I just handed you, State's Exhibit 59 and 66, are they in substantially the same condition as when you last collected it?
I'll have to look at 15. I didn't open it. Yes, that's correct.
I'll let you put that back in the package. And through the course of your testimony, you've indicated that multiple swabs of blood were taken both outside as well as inside Papadon's. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And instead of going over them all individually, I'm going to give them to you as a group. And for the record, these will be States Exhibit 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 60, 62, 63, 64, 65, 67, and 68. And since you've already testified that you collected them, I'd ask you just to go through them, indicate what the state's exhibit is, and where it was collected in relationship to a placard or a count.
Okay, State's Exhibit 51, and this was collected from the area of placard 10, which was over by the table. State's Exhibit 52 was collected from the area on the floor, placard 11, which was directly across the aisle on placard 11 there on the floor where the overturned chair was. State's Exhibit 53 was collected from placard 12 on the floor just north of the bar. And State's Exhibit 54, placard 14, collected from the floor and towards the north end of the bar. Again, that's one of our placards in front of the bar. State's Exhibit 55 from placard 13, again, the floor area towards the north end of the bar. As we viewed those photos going down the length of the floor in front of the bar, that was 13 through 18. Okay, State's Exhibit 56, placard 15. This was collected from the floor of the bar near the middle of the bar, basically in front, on the patron side. And also in that same area, that piece of plaster or drywall that I just opened was found next to that in the same area. Placard number 16. It's towards the south end of the bar, just past the midway point, in front on the patron side of the bar. Placard, or State's Exhibit 58, placard 17. Again, towards the south end of the bar, just before 18, so would be on the right end as we look at the diagram of the bar on the patron side. State's Exhibit 60, placard number 19, and that was on the hallway there at the corner of the wall leading to the kitchen, and that was the blood collected from the floor. State's Exhibit 62, and this was collected from the table, which was at placard 8, the small little placard that was on, I believe, the second table, round table in front of the bar. It was collected from the edge of the table. State's Exhibit 63, placard B, that same table but on the wall, just to the right as we were looking at it. It was the blood stain on the wall. That was collected, sampled. State's Exhibit 64, placard C, and that was collected from the far wall just past 18, just before you turn on the bathroom. So it's past the bar, past the south end of the bar, across from 19, but on the common wall that is shared with the bathroom. State's Exhibit 65, placard D that was collected from the kitchen wall above 19. That was placed there on the corner, just past the bar if we're headed south. It would be, as you face this diagram, on the right of the bar. And State's Exhibit 67, cone 2. This is from the floor, like this corner here, this left-hand corner of the diagram there, before the patio exit, where 2 is, that was collected from the tile, which I referred to as the transfer blood. You could see that the blood was in there. It wasn't dripped down, but something was like smeared, like it was transferred from another object, possibly a shoe.
Detective, you have one more item there, State's Exhibit 68.
State's Exhibit 68, cone 3, as we look at this diagram to the left of cone 2, just before the entrance to the patio, so that would be on the north end, so it would be the far corner here, lower corner, left-hand lower corner, where the pylon was labeled 3.
Detective, in regards to the labeling on these packages, does it indicate the finder of the items as well as a name for a victim?
Yes, it does.
And for these swabs, is there kind of a mistake in regards to the listing of the victim?
Yes, there is. When the program that issues the barcodes, you type in the officer's ID number and it fills everything out. It's kind of an auto feature. And 1306 is the ID number typed in. It should be 1301. And that's my error because I personally don't know everybody's ID number unless I've worked with you. And I am approximately 500 ID numbers away. So due to my lack of unfamiliarity with it, I typed in 1306 instead of 1301 and came up with a different name.
And the name there is another officer?
That's correct, by ID number, 1306.
And the name is?
Nicholas Mestaza.
He's obviously not involved in this.
No, it's an error on my point. I typed in the wrong ID number. And like I said, it's an autofill program, so you type in an ID number and it autofills out the name.
Detective, the decision in regards to the swab of blood as to whether they're sent to BCI or any other additional analysis, is that your decision to make?
It's not my decision.
Who ultimately decides that?
The prosecutor, the defense, and the investigating detective all have the right to send that in for testing.
Lastly, then, were you involved in the collection of any clothing of any of the victims in this case?
Yes, I was.
I'm going to give you a bag just to mark the space Exhibit 69. Hand you what's marked as State's Exhibit 69. Ask you if from the labeling on the bag you're able to identify that exhibit.
Yes.
And what you identify that to be.
It is one black short sleeve button down shirt. It's bloody and it's collected from the Akron City Hospital ER. And the shirt had a bullet hole, at least a bullet hole on the left side.
And do you recall who the individual at the hospital would have been, whose shirt it belonged to?
It's labeled as David Mulcahy.
And you collected that item?
That's correct.
I ask you to take the item out of the bag, and if you can locate the...
it's been cut. Makes it hard to find an orientation, but I see one hole here. I don't know. You can see right there. Okay, the other one is right here, where I'm sticking my finger out. And you can see there's dried blood all over. The shirt, this would be the left side, if it was assembled. When the medical technicians, they don't bother unbuttoning it when it's life-threatening. They just cut. And sometimes to assemble these or find the orientation on the shirt is difficult. But sometimes they cut them more than once.
It would appear that one hole is in the front part of the left side and then one hole is in the back.
That's correct.
And does this item appear to be in substantially the same condition as when you last possessed it?
Yes, it does.
I can have just 1 minute.
That's fine.
No further questions.
Good afternoon, Detective.
Good afternoon.
As a result of your work, a police report is generated, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And this report basically talks about what you did, the photos that you took, and the evidence you collected,
That's
correct?
correct.
And I have a 17-page report here, and it's authored by Detective Hayes. He's another crime scene unit detective, correct?
That's correct.
And his ID number is 878. I'm going to guess you're 802.
I made up too, that's
Okay,
correct.
you're also listed on this along with a couple other ones. And again, this is, when the crime scene unit goes out, it's not just you, it's a group of people working together, correct?
Ideally, yes.
Okay. And again, so even though you didn't author this report, you would be familiar with what took place, that's involved in this report, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Detective, I want to talk to you a little bit about the anatomy of a bullet. And frankly, we talked about a little bit on direct examination, but some of these jurors might be gun experts, and some people may have no idea anything about guns. So just so we're clear, when you think about a bullet,
It was a bullet. But Norm, well, the referrals is, yes, when you say the bullet, you're talking about the unit as a whole.
as a whole, correct?
That's correct.
And basically, you have kind of what you've talked about, the shell casing, is kind of a cup that holds the part that comes out in it, correct?
That holds the powder, that's correct.
Okay. And you talked about the primer and the incendiary and everything like that. And basically, what happens is the bullet part shoots out through the barrel and goes and strikes whatever it strikes, correct?
That's correct.
And the shell casing, at least in an automatic weapon, gets ejected, right?
That's correct.
And you said that normally it's ejected on the right-hand side. About 95% of the guns eject to the right, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So when you find, I think, 4 shell casings, and you have the list right there, the blues right next to you. I think it's 1, 4, 7, and 9. They're the shell casings, correct?
No, I think you left out 6.
Hang on. I'm sorry, 1, 6, 7, and 9. The shell casings?
That's correct.
Okay. 1, which is up here, 6, which is here, 7, which is here, and 9, which is here, correct?
That's correct.
So the fact that you find 4 shell casings, does that enable you to say with some confidence that probably this gun was fired 4 times?
We'll assume that they're all the same caliber, and BCI determines they were all fired from the gun.
Okay.
We'll assume it has been fired at least 4 times.
Okay. Because when a casing is not going to be expelled unless the bullet part comes out the barrel, correct?
The casing, no.
Right. So when you find 4 shell casings, we can assume that 4 bullets came out the barrel.
That's a reasonable assumption.
Okay. Now, so we can assume there's probably 4, but as far as location, and again, you talked a little bit about this on direct examination, but for example, if I fire a gun here, an automatic weapon, the bullet goes through that door, we'll say, it would eject, it could hit a hard surface and bounce over that way, correct?
It's a possibility.
Sure. And also, I think we talked about these shell casings are light as far as weight goes. They're fairly light, correct?
That's correct.
I mean, strong wind can move it around a little bit, right?
The only problem with the strong wind is, it's like a cylindrical object. It has a tendency, the shell casings are slightly heavier at the primer end. And when you get wind, unless it's extremely strong, it's going to have a tendency to rotate because it has a heavy end.
Okay.
So,
and I think you also talked about direct examination, that these things can be kicked. The shell casings on the ground, if there's heavy traffic, and I think you talked about a panic situation, sometimes these things just get kicked by people, correct?
That's a fair assumption.
We heard from Officer Crockett yesterday. I asked him to describe the situation around the front door. He used the word chaotic. And Officer Edsel, he used the word hectic. So it's fair to say, I mean, we have police coming in and out, we have EMS coming in and out, and we have patrons coming in and out, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So as far as the location of the shell casings, you can't really say with any confidence, just based on the locations, where the gun was fired, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. When you were going through the photos this morning, you talked about a piece of plastic that was out. You have
It's item number 4, I believe you're looking for.
Yeah, item number 4. You said a piece of plastic, and this morning you said we kept that because we didn't know, we thought maybe it would end up being important. Did you ever figure out what that was?
No.
Okay. Just talking about the shell casings being kicked around a little bit. I mean, you find a bullet all the way down here, correct?
That's correct.
And if the shooting, if we know, because we've seen a video that the shooting takes place in this area, that's a pretty long way to find a bullet. Isn't that fair?
No.
Okay, because people can kick it, they can bounce around, all kinds of things.
Well, but when the bullet's fired, it's theoretical. I could fire a bullet and I could travel for quite a distance.
Absolutely, bounce off the walls, it could be anywhere.
Correct. But I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to obtain its location, after it's fired. It could have been there, per se being kicked, prior to being kicked. I could have, for instance, if I fire a gun in this room, it hits the wall, it could either ricochet or it could hit the wall and stop, depending on the angle or what it strikes on the wall. Now, to just assume that it was kicked after that fact, or it just dropped after hitting something, I couldn't tell you.
Right, you have no idea how this bullet got there.
That's correct.
Right, but it's quite possible with all the activity and people running back and forth, it's possible it could have been kicked at that location. You have no way of knowing.
With distance, right, being fired, we have no idea whether it dropped there and was never kicked, or it was somewhere else down the line and was kicked.
Right, we have no way of knowing exactly how that bullet got there, right?
That's correct, unless it was embedded in something, then we can assume it wasn't kicked, but it was unattached.
When you talked about the bullet, you talked about there was a round in the chamber. You remember saying that this morning?
Yes, I did.
And just so we're clear, so the jury understands, when you say there's a round in the chamber, you mean there is a complete bullet. Do you have the gun?
It's in the box. It's in the box.
Do you mind taking it back out again?
Okay.
one closest to address me. When you say there's a round in the chamber, though, that means that there is a bullet that is in this part of the gun that is ready to be fired.
That's correct.
So when you fire that gun and there's a round in the chamber, that means that one more bullet could have been fired out of that gun, correct?
Not necessarily.
Okay, tell us.
Because, and I don't know about this specific model, but sometimes they have what they call a magazine safety. If you drop the magazine out of this, is which condition I found it,
Right.
some models don't fire.
Okay.
Other models do. But I have no idea at what point was that magazine taken out.
Well, then let me ask you this question. Let's say if the magazine is in the gun, okay, and there's a round in the chamber, that round is ready to be expelled out of that gun. That just like I do is pull the trigger, it comes out, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Assuming there's no malfunction and the magazine has to be seated properly. If
Right,
it's
so
loose
there's no
or
malfunction. You had said that has a laser sighting on it, correct?
That's correct.
And it's what you see on TV when the bad guy looks up and the red light's in his head and there's Arnold Schwarzenegger with the gun. Is that the kind of thing you're talking about?
It's a red dot. Where that red dot is theoretically the bullet's going to...
And I think you said that that red dot, the laser does not come out automatically. It has to be specially activated, correct?
Most of them have a pressure pad as a switch. And this is missing the pressure pad somewhere along the line.
Okay.
And you can sometimes locate them here. When you grip the gun, you're already on it. You can put it up on, preferably not anything moving on the slide. But you can put it on an area of the gun that you require another finger to press when you want it. So you have the option of either switching the laser on or off.
So the person who has the gun in their hand controls whether or not that laser light comes out, correct?
Well, I could be reaching for the gun and press the pad if it's exposed.
Okay. So if I had the gun, you could reach for it and accidentally hit the laser part, correct?
Theoretically, yes.
Theoretically. Or theoretically, if I had the gun, I could push that button and the laser sighting would come out, right?
Correct.
If that laser sighting came out, would you be able to see it on a video? If you know.
I don't know. It depends on the camera, what frequency of light it picks up.
Okay.
Another thing is, I may not use the laser sight for the merely fact that usually for distance. If I'm standing in front of you, why do I need a laser sight? The laser sight comes in handy when we're talking about distance, like we're shooting a target or we're shooting far off.
But whether you're shooting at a target or shooting far off or whatever, you have to activate that laser sight. It does not come out automatically.
Depending on how the sensor. If I set it up so when I'm gripping the gun, it's on automatically. And are the batteries any good? Is the wire connected? Right now, as I see, there's a disconnected wire. So it's not functional.
Okay. It was generated as a result of your investigation as authored by Detective Hayes. So I guess it's one of your partners in the crime scene unit?
That's correct.
Turn to page 12.
Okay.
That's part of the list of evidence that was collected, correct?
That's correct.
And the very top thing is package 3.
That's correct.
Read what that is.
Brand, model information, LG, description, black flip cell phone.
Okay, hang on a second. So it's a cell phone.
That's correct, an LG brand.
And if you read further, does it say where that cell phone was found?
Found in the suspect's right front pants pocket. The pants were bloody.
In the suspect's right front pants pocket, right?
That's correct. That's what it says.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
No further questions.
All right, thank you, sir. You can step down.
Oh. Your Honor, I'm going to take these contaminated gloves with me.
That's fine. There's a trash can right over here.
we just need a minute to get the items for the next witness.
That's fine. We can maybe just stand and have a little stretch break. Don't go anywhere.